What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to another game review, where in today's review, we're going to be going over Final Fantasy 15. I just want to say first and foremost right now that Ignis is an amazing character, okay? I just send tweet. That's that on that. Actually, I need my glasses for this. Where are they? Oh, okay, there they are. So, let's go into Noct's Final Fantasy. I don't know why I just approached you guys like this. Let's go into his fantasy. Let's go into Final Fantasy 15. I'm ready for this. I'm just gonna fangirl the entire time. I have such a bias towards this game. It has become one of my top 10 favorite games now. I love it so much. This game was just, it was my first introduction to it. It was my first everything into it. I cried like a baby. Like, I'm not afraid to admit, I got emotional when I was playing this game. It all started in Chapter 9. You all know what happens in Chapter 9. I don't even have to say it. So in the search for solace, peace, and to rescue their home Insomnia, Noctis and his friends go on a journey to save the kingdom in peril. With psychological and philosophical themes, I'll be really diving into the following concepts to show how the game presents these, if you will. The way a typical good and evil storyline got a very philosophical take, the psychology behind Noct's Final Fantasy, and my opinion on the game as a first-timer regarding the controls, the graphics, and the storyline. So good and evil is a tale as old as time. It's the yin and yang. The way evil is portrayed and how good must triumph in the story of Final Fantasy 15, and the lines of good and evil being kind of blurred. It's really fascinating, to say the least. The lines of good and evil are blurred ever so slightly, and we think that those who are actually there to harm us might be the good guy, and vice versa in some scenarios. Wanting to find his way back home to Luna, his father now dead, and the weight of the kingdom on his shoulders, Noctis, who is the main protagonist of the story, goes on a journey with his friends, and they have to save the kingdom. Throughout the story, the main antagonist playing as kind of like this good guy and bad guy, good cop, back and forth kind of scenario. Ardyn's character is a very complex one. It's filled with just a lot of psychology and philosophy. I may do a psychologically gaming on it, not too sure on that yet, but it's one that fit the story of the game very nicely, and the way that his character was utilized even to move the story forward was kind of like this as a motivator for Noctis, in a sense of his successes and the end eventually casting Ardyn out. He was moved as like this motivator, like a chess piece throughout the entire game, and I found that really cool. One of the main reasons why this character is interesting, and I feel like he's kind of like the thing that holds the story together, if you will, is the fact that he can heal people. There's a DLC that you guys can get, and it's really just a fascinating story. Ardyn's story is fascinating. It's heartbreaking. It's very in-depth. It was shockingly in-depth from what I researched, because the way that they did the extra DLCs, you can actually get 3 separate DLCs. No, 4, because there's Ardyn's, there's Gladius, there's Prompto, and then there's Ignis. So yeah, 4 DLCs that you guys can get as attachments onto the game, which I would highly recommend getting them if you have not already. The character is, like I said, diverse, and the way that it sets the entire precedent for how good and evil is thought throughout the game is mind-blowing to me, because the way that JRPGs are done, they put the story first and then they put the mechanics, so you can clearly see how the story was developed through the entire span of the game, and it's just really, really good. I mean, here I am fangirling. I mean, you know, there were some things I didn't like about the game. Don't worry, I'll get to that. Hold your panties on. Not to mention, like, the way that he was designed, it made me question his motives throughout the entire game, because I was like, are you good? Are you actually evil? Can't quite figure you out just yet. So let's go into the Final Fantasy that Noct always wanted, shall we? Noctis. He's an interesting character. At first I thought he was an entitled guy who complained a lot, but towards the end of the game, you really see his empathy, his heart, and his humanity shine through. I think that's because he kind of went away for like years and years, and he came back. He's like, I'm ready to fight Ardyn. I'm ready. Let's conquer this. Let's get this bread, you know? The pain, the torment, the life that ultimately comes through Noctis at the end of the game, it's kind of like reading Sisyphus, you know? You keep seeing him pushing the boulder and trying to get there, and when, you know, it's just that constant torment of like, do I push the boulder? Do I not? Do I push it further and further to see how far I'm gonna get up this damn hill? Getting further, he only realizes that he's like stepping back 10 steps. And he's one of the most human characters I've seen in a game besides The Witcher. Like I've stated before, The Witcher is one of the most human characters. He's more of a pessimist than anything, but actually so is Noctis if you think about it, because he has this kind of like attitude throughout the game that's like, I'll be okay. Ugh. Psychology of Noctis. Where do I even start with the psychology of Noctis? It's a wonderfully complex one, because as I began to see more of his character unravel, the nuances and the traits that he held, I noticed one key thing about him, and that's his inability to handle problems head on. No, maybe the guy just internalizes a lot of things to a point of where he pushes everything and anything away from him, and at the center of the story, he has to conquer all of it. He has to conquer his demons, he has to conquer his fears, he has to conquer, especially his fear of losing people. That's a big one that I noticed. I should have put that in the article. But his fear of losing people is so tremendous that by the end of it, you just see him get more numb and more just detached from life itself. The character is unique, it's multifaceted, and I know this may be a stretch, what I am about to say, but Prompto, Ignis, and Gladio are a part of Noctis. That's where the kind of like the philosophy part comes in, so bear with me on this one. Noctis dies, the others bring him back to life, with that phoenix rise, that little lovely thing that I had to use so many times throughout the game. Even in the final scene when they're all at the campsite, which by the way, that was emotional, okay? They're all at the campsite together, and he is just one with his family. He is with his friends. He is there, and they act as one unit. They're all together in that moment that he says, "You guys are the best," and I'm just like, there you are. Gets his final fantasy, and then he is with his beloved Luna in the afterlife, and they get married, and just cue the waterworks. Seriously, cue the freaking waterworks. Killing a demon that was once human and celebrating it in the afterlife made it fit for a king. I think that's just such a metal way to go out, because you're killing a demon and then you greet him in the afterlife, you kill him all over again finally, and then you're just in a campsite with your bros and you're just chilling and you're just like, "Hey guys, you're the best, and you get to marry the love of your life, please." That's like the best afterlife. So let's go into my final thoughts as we close off this review. As a first time player of Final Fantasy, I am very pleased to say that I am happy with my first experience. I was so worried that, oh my god, I cannot tell you guys how worried I was that I was going to not like this game and then we would have another Fallout 3 situation on our hands. I was so worried. Oh my god, I was so worried. But luckily, I absolutely loved the game. It was so good. There were some parts of it that were kind of like, they felt drawn out in my opinion, but I feel like that was just to add to the anticipatory feeling of the storyline and how the game was going to flow. It's not a favorite among many Final Fantasy fans because so many people say that, oh, there are cars, there's elevators, there's all this kind of stuff that's in the real world, and it's more of a fantasy type of game, which I get, I mean, this longtime Final Fantasy players who've experienced Final Fantasy 15, they're like, whoa, what is this? I got emotional, I got goosebumps, I felt like I connected with the characters. At the end of the day, that's all that a game company could ever hope for, is that their players connect with their characters, and I'm so happy that I connected with the characters because, it was so interesting to see how diverse and how well structured they were. Now, on the negative side of what I did not enjoy about the game, that there were crashes. Multiple crashes in the game, bugs, and I got things that I wish I wish Square Enix would provide patches for some of these things, because yes, the game is a tiny bit older, it's like a few years old, but at the end of the day, it's still a somewhat newish game and deserves patches. So I really think that they should do that for the game. The graphic work was some of the most beautiful I've ever seen. Japanese graphic work is just stunning. Period. Said tweet. A lot of the controls when I was trying to maneuver past some enemies and everything like that, it was just difficult. It was a journey to say the least, because when you're trying to go past it and you hit the end of the map, you can't go any further. So that in essence provides to be difficult, because when you have the camera angle, it like instantly switches. It would be a glitch or a bug or something like that, glitch in the matrix, what have you, and I would try to get past the monster that I was fighting while also trying to get my camera to go in the right direction. So it's, I was like, why is it doing this right now? But this game will forever hold a special place in my heart. I absolutely love it, and I cannot wait to play the rest of the Final Fantasy series. That's like my face and what I do. Please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below because I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And as usual, stay casually nerdy. I will see you guys in the next video, which, by the way, you can see more of my videos here, you know? Clickety click click, if you will, okay? There's a lot of videos that you can see. Just, you know, click or tap, you know? Just do the thing. There's something there. Might be Cyberpunk. Might be Fallout 3. It might be another game review. Who knows, you know? You never know with this one. Just click it, you know? Pineapple belongs on pizza.